Have you ever wondered what secrets lie behind the walls of abandoned castles around the world? These majestic and mysterious ruins are more than just piles of stones. They are witnesses of history, culture, and legends that can spark your imagination and curiosity. In this video, we will take you on a journey to explore 10 stunning and mysterious abandoned castles around the world, from Ireland to Ukraine, from New York to Germany. You will learn about their origins, their architecture, and their stories that will make you feel like you are traveling back in time. Whether you are a fan of history, adventure, or fantasy, you will find something to fascinate you in these amazing castles. Number 1. Heidelberg Castle in Germany. One of the most romantic abandoned castles around the world is Heidelberg Castle in Germany. This castle was built in the 13th century by the prince-electors of the Holy Roman Empire, who ruled over the region of Heidelberg for centuries. The castle was a splendid palace, with Renaissance and Baroque architecture and ornate gardens. Particularly, there is a large wine barrel that could hold 130,000 liters of wine. The castle was destroyed by lightning and wars several times. Nevertheless, it was always rebuilt until it was finally abandoned in the 18th century. Heidelberg Castle is now a ruin, but you can still see its beauty and charm from its towers and terraces that overlook the city of Heidelberg and the Neckar River. Number 2. Frankenstein's Castle in Germany. One of the most spooky abandoned castles around the world is Frankenstein's Castle in Germany. This castle has a spooky name and a reputation for being haunted by local myths and legends. In fact, the Frankenstein family, who ruled over the region for centuries, built this castle in the 13th century. The castle was involved in many wars and conflicts and was eventually abandoned in the 18th century. Frankenstein's Castle is said to be the inspiration for Mary Shelley's famous novel Frankenstein. Mary visited the area in 1814 and heard stories about an alchemist who experimented with human bodies at the castle. It is also said to be haunted by ghosts, witches, and werewolves. Number 3. Hamilton Palace in England. One of the most extravagant abandoned castles around the world is Hamilton Palace in England. A controversial tycoon named Nicholas van Hoogstraten built this castle in the 20th century. He wanted to create a lavish mansion that could reflect his wealth and power. However, the castle was never completed due to his imprisonment for murder in 2002. The unfinished mansion is even larger than Buckingham Palace and has a mausoleum on its grounds where he planned to be buried with his treasures. The castle is surrounded by high walls and security cameras and is guarded by dogs and guards. The castle is now a mystery, as no one knows what lies inside or what will happen to it. Number 4. Fort Mahon in France. Another one of the most tragic abandoned castles around the world is Fort Mahon in France. This castle was built in the 18th century on the coast of Pas-de-Calais, as part of the fortification system of France. The castle was a massive structure, with 4 bastions, a moat, and a drawbridge. The castle was used as a military base and a prison until it was occupied by the Nazis during World War II. The Nazis then used the castle as a forced labor camp, where thousands of prisoners were tortured and killed. The castle was liberated by the Allies in 1944, but it was left to decay. The castle is now a memorial site, but you can still see the traces of the atrocities that happened there. Number 5. Fort Alexander in Russia. This castle was built in the 19th century on a small island in the Gulf of Finland. It was a part of the defense system of St. Petersburg. The castle was designed as a circular fortress, with 2 levels of gun batteries and a central courtyard. Yet, the castle was never used in combat, but it had a dark history. In the early 20th century, the castle was converted into a research lab for deadly bacterial infections such as plague, anthrax, and cholera. The lab was closed after the Russian Revolution, and the castle was abandoned. The castle is now a popular tourist attraction. You can still see the remains of the lab equipment and the signs of biohazard. Number 6. Squire's Castle in Ohio. One of the most charming abandoned castles around the world is Squire's Castle in Ohio. This castle was built in the 19th century by an oil tycoon named Fergus B. Squire. He wanted to create a gatehouse for a larger estate that he planned to build on his land. However, he never finished his project and sold his property in 1922. The gatehouse was left alone, becoming a park attraction that is open to visitors. The gatehouse is a small but cozy stone building with Gothic windows and arches and a fireplace inside. Squire's Castle is rumored to be haunted by the ghost of Squire's wife. She died there after falling down the stairs or being scared by a deer, depending on the version of the story. Number 7. Pidhirtsi Castle in Ukraine. Another one of the most impressive abandoned castles around the world is Pidhirtsi Castle in Ukraine. This castle was built in the 17th century by the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth's crown hetman Stanislaw Koniec-Polski, who wanted to create a luxurious residence that could rival Versailles. The castle was designed in the Renaissance style, with a large courtyard, a chapel, and a park. The castle hosted many lavish parties and events until it was plundered and burned by the Russian army in 1702. Later, the castle was restored but suffered more damage during World War I and World War II. In 1956, a fire destroyed most of the interior, leaving only the walls and some paintings. Number 8. Bannerman Castle in New York. A Scottish-American businessman named Francis Bannerman bought an island on the Hudson River in 1900 to store his surplus military equipment. He then decided to build a castle on the island, inspired by his ancestral home in Scotland. The castle was decorated with turrets, towers, and arches, and had a large arsenal inside. However, in 1920, an explosion caused by gunpowder destroyed part of the castle. Later, in 1969, another fire burned down most of the remaining structures. The castle is now a ruin, but you can still see its distinctive shape from the shore or take a boat tour to visit the island. Number 9. Gwrych Castle in Wales. One of the most haunted abandoned castles around the world is Gwrych Castle in Wales. An eccentric nobleman named Lloyd Hesketh Bamford Hesketh built this castle in the 19th century. He wanted to create a Gothic fantasy that could rival his ancestors' medieval castles. Indeed, the castle was a magnificent residence, with 128 rooms, 18 towers, and 250 acres of gardens and woodlands. The castle hosted many guests and events until it was sold to various owners after World War II. In the 1980s, the castle was abandoned, becoming a ruin that is now haunted by ghosts and legends. Gwrych Castle is said to be haunted by the ghost of Winifred Cochrane, the Countess of Dundonald, who inherited the castle from her husband and died there in 1924. The castle is also said to be haunted by other spirits. There is a servant girl who fell from a tower, a monk who wanders in the gardens, and a black dog that guards the entrance. Number 10. Ballycarbery Castle in Ireland. One of the most enchanting abandoned castles around the world is Ballycarbery Castle in Ireland. This castle was built around the 16th century by the McCarthy clan, who ruled over the region of Kerry for centuries. The castle was damaged by Oliver Cromwell's troops in the mid-1600s, who were sent to suppress the Irish Rebellion. Since then, the castle has been left to decay, but not without charm. The castle is covered with ivy and surrounded by green fields and blue waters, creating a fairy tale-like scenery. You can visit the castle for free and explore its ruins. Nevertheless, be careful not to climb too high or disturb the wildlife that lives there. Definitely, Ballycarbery Castle is a perfect place to experience the beauty and mystery of Ireland's history. If this video brought value to you, please give this video a thumbs up, share with other caregivers, and subscribe for more such videos.